Hi, everyone. I'm Tamara, and I'm so excited to be here tonight speaking with you. When I was a little girl, we moved around a lot. We lived in places like Russia, New Brunswick, and also Maine. My father is an education researcher, and some of my earliest memories are having conversations with him about education. He would listen to my ideas, and I would also listen to what he had to say. I remember my father telling me stories about how he grew up in Cape Cod, and he would run freely with his sisters and brothers along the beach. And the way that he described those stories really informed my philosophy of education. I believe that students should experience adventure and thrill in the classroom. Once I got to high school, I landed in a very traditional high school, and the lack of choice in curriculum felt stifling. So this high school was in Indiana. And so my response as a teenager was to become a thrill seeker. My friends and I climbed everything there was to climb. We would take our horses and ride them downhill, sitting backwards at breakneck speed. And yes, we jumped off of bridges into the water below. As a neuroscience teacher, I wonder to myself, what was going on in there? And we know that the prefrontal cortex in teenagers is often still developing, and that is the reason why teenagers make sometimes poor decisions. So I think for me, definitely my prefrontal cortex was kind of slow. Another thing that I learned while I was teaching neuroscience is that there's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. And this system is responsible for filtering incoming information and deciding what's important and worth paying attention to. So the brain pays attention to these things in this order, and those are novelty, things that are new, self-made choices, and also physical need. As a teacher, I know that it's really important for teenagers to practice executive functioning, and that takes giving them choices a lot of times. And also, there's a tremendous amount of research supporting the idea that both adults and students are happier in places where they are given autonomy or the power of choice. And it also results in better college and career outcomes. Okay, so back sitting in my guidance counselor's office in high school in Indiana, I'm just sitting there sweating because I've been skipping school, and he called me into his office and he said to me, Tamara, we need to talk, And so I'm thinking to myself, he's gonna tell me, why aren't you doing your math homework? Why aren't you coming to school? And instead, he offered me a clear choice. He said, Tamara, you can continue going to Saturday school detention for skipping school, or you can attend college a year early. And at that moment, I felt tremendous relief that he understood what I was going through. And I couldn't believe that someone would offer me a choice instead of saying, hey, just go to detention, or drop out or whatever. And so what I decided was I was going to go to college early. And for me, that was the right choice. Once I became a New York City public school teacher, that was about 14 years ago, one of my first classes was a class full of English language learners. And I had a huge range of ability levels. I had students in there who were struggling to say the alphabet in their native language, alongside students who were working at a college level. So in my second year of teaching, my idea was, well, school should be an adventure, so I'm just going to give them all choices. And so we were learning about biomes, and I basically said to them, guys, why don't you each choose an animal and I'll buy it and we'll put it in this little biome. I know you guys really can, some of you can relate to this. Yeah, so we ended up with a zoo. And I was not a biology teacher anymore. My job responsibilities were to be a zookeeper. And, that's great, but then the iguana actually bit someone. They get mean. Once they get big, they get mean. And then the snake died over Christmas. And the fruit flies escaped in a giant cloud towards the cafeteria. Oh, God. And I had to write this email to the staff. Yeah. Yeah, that's real. I found that in my emails, thinking, oh, my gosh. And they were gigantic. I don't know why. Oh, gosh. So it was an adventure. Not the kind of adventure that I wanted to have, but yeah, it was an adventure. Okay, so then, I got a little restless working at that school, and I thought, well, you know what, I need a change. And I researched schools, and I thought, okay, I gotta find the school that gives the teachers the most choice and the students the most choice, because that's where I'm gonna fit in. And I found City as School. And so City as School, I started working there about 4 years ago. And I started in a new role, which is to be an advisor. And so I had no idea what it meant to be an advisor. It was like being a first-year teacher all over again. And so, I didn't know why my students were absent. And I couldn't figure out how to talk to them because we didn't really have, I'm used to talking to students about science. And so what I did was, one day I was looking through the students' attendance, and I noticed there's a pattern. And, one of my students had been absent always in the morning and the afternoon. And so I called him in, and I said to him, could you tell me why there's a pattern? Like, what are you up to in those hours? And he said, Tamara, let me show you what I've been up to. And I was like, uh-oh. And my first thought was, this is a beautiful picture. Look at those colors. And then my second thought was, oh my God, you're on the Empire State Building and your legs are dangling off. And so now I was in the position to offer someone a clear choice. And so what we did was we sat together, we talked about the options, and we came to a plan where he could still earn the credits that he needed to do well in high school and follow his passion for photography. Now, in my classroom, I've learned that I need to sit with my students and I need to talk with my students. And I've also been doing something new lately, which is my students have been helping me develop the choices. And so this picture is from kombucha class on Monday. And we were thrilled that we only saw one fruit fly. Now, since I've been offering students controlled choices, I've started to hear ideas that I would have never heard before or thought of myself. And I've heard them asking me questions that I would have never thought to ask. This picture is from neuroscience class, and the students are trying to get to the bottom of why teachers are so stressed all the time. Oh, my headset. So they actually have an EEG headset on, and the teacher is the one on the right. She's wearing the headset. I think mine just fell off. In this picture, the students are investigating the turbidity of the river water to learn more about the oysters. And here they are trying to figure out a new way to glue a pigment to a surface in the chemistry of art class. In this picture, they're getting totally grossed out because a little piece of that sheep's brain just flicked onto someone's cell phone. It's gross. And in this picture, in this experiment, the students are really happy because they finally figured out how to get the EEG headset connected to the software that controls the drone to work. You can see the drone is on the right. So in all of my adventures and experiments with giving choice, I've basically changed one thing, just like Seth was talking about in his opening talk. And I kept trying to do that one thing until I got a little bit better at it. And I'm still getting better. I'm still trying to get better at it. And what I'm going to commit to is that every activity that I do with my students, I'm going to be offering them a good choice. I'm going to work really hard on making sure that those choices I offer are really thought out and really strong choices. And I would like to invite all of you to join me on this adventure so that all students can experience the thrill that comes with true mathematical and scientific inquiry. Thank you.